squish that river sand until they could get all the moisture out. It took quite a bit of time. And once they got all that water out of that stone, it got harder and harder and harder, and they made those chimney blocks. And it's nothing more than river sand squished and dried and squished and dried and packed it until it made a chimney. So that's what this is on this side, which I think is very unique. And on the other side, you're going to see over here on this table, and I guess I should kind of come over here a little bit, but on this side, you're going to have parts of the chimney on the other side, which is the green enamel on red brick. You don't even find this today. I looked it up on the internet, and people just can't afford it. But they had their fireplace on this side in green glazed enamel. The roof on this house is copper.
Wow.
This house would have shined next to that river. And I cannot even imagine with the colors you're going to see on those pillars back there. It was like a turquoise blue and white with green glazed chimney and a copper roof and that white sandstone on the other side. It gives me goosebumps. I wish I could have seen it in its full glory in color. Now, up here, this is about like it looked that day. I found that envelope right there on that section where the black mold is creeping up the side there. Easily enough, you could see that envelope laying there. And it was an amazing day, and I ran back home and I couldn't stand it. You know, I shared it with my parents and I'm like, what do you want with that garbage? I have kept that garbage in file folders until this year and did not even realize any of you guys existed until my wonderful kids told me that if I left the country one more time and didn't open up Facebook, they were not going to talk to me anymore. So now we can blame them because they made a Facebook account for me. And because of that, I found that I had family, lots of family. And that's so pretty cool because we got to the point where we thought we were the last family left. We didn't know that there was anybody else attached to the Lester house. My dad didn't tell me anything. My mother wouldn't have known to tell me anything. So how would I know any of you folks existed? So I am so very thankful that I can introduce my granddaughters to family because we really don't have any. So I'm so glad to open my doors to you and welcome you into our home, and you're always welcome at the property. Please never hesitate to come down and go to the cemetery, and feel free to come over and just stare at the chimney if you want to. I'm sorry, that's all that's left, but I didn't have any money at the time to put the house back together again. I was just too young, but it did make a big deal to us growing up. We did love that farm and that house a lot, and it has a great deal of memories for us. Now, as far as the other things you're going to see around the room, all of the documents on this bag that I have put behind plexiglass, we did that because the Lesters had the farm, the store. And because they ran the store, they brought home so much documentation of time and the period. Some of it from Columbia, and some of it's from Burnside. And I don't think I've ever seen a Burnside newspaper before from the 1800s. So to see these small town communities with newspapers that are still in existence, I'm pretty sure Burnside would be interested to see a Burnside newspaper. The fact that this was used, I think, as insulation for the house, they showed the walls, letters from our family talking to each other. Correspondence puts life in them. We're not going to hand this to give to our children because we email. Our emails will disappear. We don't have written letter anymore. So I think that even taking the time to write each other a letter or to write your notes down to keep them in law is so important because these guys don't have any appreciation today, but they will have appreciation later in life. But you will find the letters in the binder. So there's a big magnifier back there that can slide over the letters. Some of them are very difficult because the paper is sort of kind of dirty, and I didn't try to clean it, but it was laying up there for, nearly 100 years. So if you slide the magnifier over it, it will help you to help figure out their cursive. Anybody that wants to have photographs or copies made, please let me know. You can put a post-it note on anything you want and leave me your mailing address, your phone number, your email, I don't care. I'll send it however you want it to go, but if you want something, I want to make sure you get it. in the cases, now this is a whole nother story. Like the chimney block, you'll find all these shadow boxes over here. The shadow boxes contain only things found at the Lester house. Only things found in the yard and around the house. Now, unfortunately, I've misplaced a few things, so I have a lot of cast iron, which I couldn't find. It's in another container somewhere. But you're going to find in one of the boxes the last Lester nickel, which I found pretty amazing, because that's what Aunt Stella called it. Well, you've got the last Lester nickel. There was a nickel over there, and I thought that was cool too, and I looked it up, and it's got a date on it, and it was worth $17.50. I would never sell it. It's worth $17,000 to me, so there you go. Because it's just cool, because I'm pretty sure that the Lesters didn't have a bank account anywhere, so they probably buried a lot of money in the yard in mason jars, because that was of the time period. So when I had the Lewises down, and they were doing the farming, Mr. Lewis, when the house fell, he just went ahead, and that yard on the side over here, it had a picket fence. And I remember that when we were little girls, that had a little picket fence, just part of it, standing there, and some bushes. And you could clearly see there were some steps. That was yard, this is field, yard to field. Well, when the house failed, he just went ahead and bulldozed and leveled it all out so it'd be easier to plant. And when he did that, he uprooted what was once probably their burn pile, maybe, I don't know. But it was glassware and china and porcelain of all kinds. Now, I have a big history with some antiquity knowledge, so I can tell you that these people had a lot of money. Some of that glassware in these cases, it's feather edge, it's almost all from England. It would have been top of the line. When you look at some of the prices on the garments and things in there, the shoes, I found a corset, which I couldn't find to bring today, but the corset was on the floor in the house. I got that, and the shoes I found, they had a little funny story there too, but they were completely flattened out, and there was lots of shoes actually, but I picked those three, and I took it back to the house, and I put them in the bathtub, and I got them nice and wet, and while they were still wet, I shoved that newspaper in there. That will tell you exactly the day that I brought them out of that house, because that newspaper is still the same newspaper that I stuck in them the day I brought them back. And they've been like that ever since, and I just thought they were cool, because somebody that would have loved me wore those shoes. And I didn't get to meet them, so I thought I need to keep those shoes, because I know I loved them. You know, because I had a cool time, they had great stories, and I'm just super sentimental about stuff like that. So anyway, I kept their shoes, even though they had discarded them and didn't want them anymore. And now you have them to see, and they'll have them to pack around for eternity. She's looking at me like, I'm not carrying on shoes. And if you look in some of the others, you're going to see buttons and nails. There is top socket, oil lamps, some of the pricey glass. I mean, fry glass and bohemian glass. So you know the house was awesome. Pottery, porcelains, ceramics, and this is just what I selected out of a tote full of glass that I picked up. It didn't do any good to take a metal detector over there. The amount of nails alone just sets you off like crazy. But you're also going to find over there teeth. Some of it we can for sure say is animal, but some of it is more human than animal, so it's a little sketchy on that. There's arrowheads, but they were found in the yard. So what I found in the yard, I threw in that tote, and that's exactly what I pulled out to bring for the reunion was the stuff that was in the tote. Trying to think if there was anything else. Cindy, was there something that I'm missing? Because you know, you get up here, you get a little bit rattled about stories, but
I think you got so many.
I know there's. It's just Swan Pond is a hard day's work on any given day to keep up with because it's constantly changing. There's sinkholes and there's definite issues of erosion. I know what I was going to say. The state highway that's coming through, there's a really good videotape on YouTube, and I don't know if you can find it or not, but for these folks who haven't seen it, I think if you type in US Highway 127, something like that, and if we could play it on it would be a good one.
Did you repeat that again?
The US Highway 127 road project, I think is what it is, something like that, construction project. who did the droning of that, but they did an awesome job, and then they put a really good song with it. But they're going to bring that highway through. It's going to go next to Blackfish, because thank goodness they did make Blackfish historical. But it's still going to ruin it because it's cutting so close that you won't have the same visuals anymore. It's going to be a 90-foot bridge crossing the river. 90 foot is the tallest bridge in the state of Kentucky. So it is going to be an eyesore that you're not going to escape. It's going to cross the land at the Wright property. Now, I don't know if you guys know where the Wrights are at, but if you know where Stella and Willis's house currently, which would be the Murdy house, it will be behind the property line of the Murdy house, going through where the original schoolhouse once sat, next to the Woolridge Cemetery, crossing over the Hayes property, and almost straight to the river like you're going to Crisboro. But once it hits right there, they may have to make some adjustments, because that would have been underwater this last year when we had the epic flood. So I don't know what they're going to do about that. But at this point, it takes a horrific change, because when Hayes meets McClure Woods, it's nearly straight up and down. So they're going to have to start dynamiting at that point. Now, you would think that they would be conservative, knowing that that is not only a family, we're all very attached to that property, but they're not. They're cutting right through the heart of the woods. So they're going to leave us with the same view that you get in summer on your way to Somerset, where it's a raw wall on both sides. That's what you're going to see. You're no longer going to see the trees. You're just going to see rock for that whole section. Till you come out down where Mantown Church is. You'll pop out around Mantown Church. There'll probably be an on and off ramp there too. And then it's going to cut to where Betty Mann's house was at. So if you're driving down, it's at 1740, I think is what it's called before it gets to Swan Pond. Betty Mann's house was the only brick house once you pass the jump off, or the overlook. So at the overlook, the very first house you would see is a brick house up on your right-hand side, and that was Betty Mann's house. That house is gone. So is the Connor house. Matter of fact, everything's gone. All the old houses that were down on Hayes's, that was part of our family too. He went out and bulldozed. And I think Aunt Stella was mortified over that one, but there was no particular reason to do that. The roof was still good, but he did. He just went out and bulldozed them. There's also a house that sits, a foundation of a house that sits up in the woods on top of the hillland. Nobody has ever told me who had that house. I have no information about that whatsoever. But there's a foundation in the woods behind the bluff. Now, there's very few people, and I don't know if anybody in here has actually been in the woods up above the bluff as you cross over that road. I actually have, and I tried to get the rest of the family to come down and walk it with the assessors, but nobody would do it. The view up there is beyond belief epic. It is fantastic views of lake, river, and dam. It's one of the only places you can see lake, river, and dam, and river on both sides. So they're taking away something not from me, but from society, because I'm a caretaker. And it breaks my heart to see another view gone, because even on the highway, you'll never see these views. You're going to cross in a rock wall. So this is going to be something taken from everybody. That issue is still in the works. They've not resolved anything with this. They're not. A lot of it is clearly not going to be accessible to anybody because they're not giving any off and on ramps. But I know a lot of people have asked about what's happening with the new road, and I thought it was kind of important to tell you that this is going to be one of your last chances to see and arrive at this farm in a manner that was similar to your family. The old road down to Swan Pond still exists that would surround Potato Hill. That road is still there. But you cannot get from Potato Hill to the Lester house anymore because you don't have that picture anymore up here. But you remember the picture that showed the Lester house and the water was right up to the front door and you can see the boats kind of parked there? That is really washed out and the trees have grown up quite a bit. So you can't get from the Potato Hill access to the house anymore. You have to actually go through the fields. That's why none of you have ever seen the house, just blatantly sitting out there. A lot of people always confuse it with the Murdy house, because that's a Lester house too. that house is visual to everybody. But this Lester house, this one's hidden from view. You don't see it. So if you've had that confusion in your mind, this house you have not seen. It can't be seen from the road. The Potato Hill, and I will also offer this up to you. If you have not taken the Potato Hill walk, you need to take the Potato Hill walk.
You're gonna do that this winter, when the foliage is all off, we need to do that.
It is the most extraordinary view you can imagine. And if you cross it from the bluff side, like you're on the road, you'll see that there's a little place where you can turn your car in, like a horseshoe. You just pull your car right in there, and it's like God created a stairway right to the top. The stones will take you right to the top. Just follow the stone to the top. And when you get up there, there's a marker. And when you stand at that marker, you can see all the way around you, and everything in Swan Pond looks just like tiny itsy bitsy things, and you don't realize how high up you actually are. But it is a phenomenal view of lake, river, and Swan Pond. Now, if you try to access the same point from the other side, bring a rope. You'll need it. You cannot justifiably come the other side. It's a rough haul. So, but on the one side, it's worth your time to come and take a look. Anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Did they have to move any cemeteries?
No, they did not move any cemeteries. No, they've avoided them all. I mean, I guess for me, I'm a little bit discouraged by the fact that Brown Foreman dug up all the arrowheads, okay? And they were shut down. Now, Brown Foreman bought the Lester farm. Right after the Lesters sold their farm, it was Brown Foreman that came in and put the shrimp ponds in. And then they went to dig another pond, and they've dug up all their arrowheads. And the state of Kentucky came in and said, oh, you're done. Pack up, get out, you're done.
Was it the Woolridge farm?
Yep.
Okay, you said Lester, that's.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, sorry. No, Woolridge Farm. So it's that brick house that the Woolridges lived in, and they had all the shrimp ponds behind it. Well, Brown Foreman was made to leave, and this is the exact same land the state has come in and thrown a road down on. And so what they did was they sent the Kentucky State University down, and they started over on Hayes' property, and they started digging. And they dug all the way to the river and dug up all the arrowheads they could find, any artifacts, and taken them all away. Because once the state of Kentucky bought that, they can send anybody they want to in to dig it up and remove it, and that's what they did. So in answer to your question, did they dig up cemeteries? I have no idea what they took. They didn't tell us what they took. They just took it. Because that's what the state does. Because they're for the people, right?
Yeah, I think Ronnie told me that one of the groups came from out of Pennsylvania and was doing some of the excavations. They took off his place like 450 artifacts.
Right.
They took up.
Yeah. It's a phenomenal number, and in case you didn't hear what he said, Ronnie Wright, whose property is in the line, that's the highway, they dug up, Ronnie said, about 450 artifacts, and I don't doubt that. And that would have been just one small spot, because Ronnie doesn't really have a big ownership spot, but Hayes does. And that would be phenomenal. And they were out there at Hayes' for a long time digging. I'm sorry, but I'm just appalled. I'm just absolutely appalled because we don't do that. You know, we don't dig up our farm, and we don't desecrate. And now I dug up a cannonball. But I'm not going to tell them a thing because I want to come down and dig up dead army people, I guess, you know, and I'm not into that. So I'm just going to keep my cannonball and my mouth shut, and hopefully this will pass. You know, it's just a bad, epic moment in life. But I can't stop it, and it's not right, and there you go.
What do they do with the artifacts when you find them?
They said they put them in a museum,
They show them.
but I don't know how they got enough space to show all that. They usually put it in an archive somewhere, and you'll never see it again. Or they sell them at an auction to say that they're raising funds so that they can build onto the museum, which I don't think is fair either, because if you got something for free, you took it. You didn't pay the people you took it from, you took it. So, I don't know. Any other questions? Danny, did you have a question?
Yeah, so what happened to the road across the dam?
Well, in time, they have said that they're going to close the road on the dam. They're trying to close all the roads on the dams. Justifiably, we just
maybe
spent...
I missed it, but what happens to the road down Swan Pond?
Yeah, well, there's another question. He's trying to see if he can rile me up. Listen, I gave the state of Kentucky a 2-page list on what happens when we can't get home. Because as you guys know, there's one boat in the Swan Pond bottom, the rest of it's surrounded by water. They don't care. And they will tell you they don't care. If the road collapses, go see somebody that cares. Because they're not going to do anything for us, they don't care. So if my farmer has a field of soybeans planted and he can't come and harvest because the road just collapsed, if the horses need fed and can't get hay, we just throw on our own. If I have to go get a boat to get over Mantown to get to my car, yeah, she's found it. This one will give you goosebumps. If Judy can make this happen, it will make you. Yeah, go ahead.
Jerry, I may have asked you this before, I think I have actually. But do we know where the exits are gonna be?
There's supposed to be 3 at Ronnie's. Now, I don't know if those are going to be private or public. There's supposed to be one that brings you out down the Lester Road, so that will literally feed our side, and then there's one at the Mantown Church.
Okay.
Those Ronnie's are all on for his
Yeah,
use,
his personal use.
His personal
Yeah.
use.
Well, I was going to hit him up if they didn't give him one. I was going to tell him he had to share.
You go.
Yeah, he would give it to you.
I'll tell him when I see him.
Yeah, I know he'd let me use it. If that didn't make you want to cry, I just can't imagine what we got today that would make you cry more than that. But that's what we're looking at, and it's really super sad. I'm sure that it'll never be the same again. Yes.
Can this video be purchased?
It's on YouTube. All you just gotta type in is Highway 127, road construction, Judy?
I ended up finding it under, April 80 is the name of the person who did it, April 80.
It's also on my Facebook page, and you can pick it up from there on Judy's, and
Roll through a while.
I think we actually put it on the,
I've seen it somewhere.
we put it on the family, I think we put it on
I think it's on the family page.
the family page too. So, I mean, there's several locations, and if you still can't find it, you just look one of us up, Sandy, me, Judy, whatever, we'll help you find it. I mean, I just think it's important that those that want to see the farm before it's gone need to come down and take their pictures and get their last mementos, because our lives are gonna change, and it's not progress, it's destruction. And there was a better way. There's usually always a better way, but I don't know, I don't see the sense in it, but it's gonna happen, and that's the way it is. Anybody else have any questions? Yay, Cindy?